Meat blade with guitar, step blade and innovative device project, transparent team of some community.
Welcome to the Weekly Blaze. Utah Crypto here. I am stepping in for Ali Kane, who is out sick, so hope he gets better soon. I'm here with Cryptographics and Irish Crypto.
What's up,
How
gents?
you guys doing?
Yeah, good to be here. Good to be sharing the stage with you, Cryptographics. And Utah, feels like we've known each other for centuries. That's what 2 years in crypto does to you, eh?
Oh my God! I feel like we've been through wars together, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've definitely earned a few stripes through this bear market, and soon I think we are going to enter a very interesting phase, which I'm sure we'll get into as a three at some point during the stream. But yeah, great to be here.
Awesome. What about you, Cryptographics? What's up?
Man, I'm stoked. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on, and I'm stoked to speak with you, Irish, and Utah again. I feel like this space is such an exciting time right now. So many great, cool conversations to be had. So many cool things coming. This is going to be a fun stream. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to be here. Like I said, I never ran a stream before. I'm substituting for Ali Kane. But Irish, do you want to kick it off and start talking about GoatX? You want me to pull that white paper up?
Yeah, could you? If you could pull the goat paper up, I'll give it a little spin. I won't go into a deep dive. I'll just cover some of the highlights, as I'm really looking forward to hearing about TORUS as well. I've been keeping an eye on that as you've been marketing it via X, Cryptographics. So looking forward to hearing about that too.
Thanks. Likewise. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about GoatX.
Good man. So, Utah, do you want to flash it up? So while you're doing that, I'll just kind of give a quick update. So we recently announced a couple of days ago that the launch date is going to be the 28th of December. So 2 p.m. UTC. It's going to be a Saturday, so we hope that'll be a lower gas day. And yeah, couldn't pass up on the numerology of 28 either. So we had to take that one. So some of you might not know me so well. I'm not a prolific streamer like some other people in this space, but I've been very active almost since the start. Was one of the sort of original members of Jake's mastermind. Been a part of the Blaze team, was involved in Blaze, involved in Inferno, and involved as a co-founder in Flux. And now GoatX is my next venture. So I just wanted to start off with sort of introducing that and the term MemeFi. I've done a couple of streams. This is my third stream on the GoatX protocol. So I think MemeFi now is becoming a bit of a newer concept coming into the industry. And within TitanX, we experienced the power of MemeFi with Inferno when we launched it on TitanX back in July. So, we had such fun, didn't we, Utah, creating the meme of Inferno the bull, deciding what we wanted it to look like, what it stood for, what the vision for the protocol would be. It was a bit of a gift to the community. We didn't take a genesis from it at all after Blaze, because there was 8 of us, and we took a larger genesis, 16% for Blaze. So we wanted to give something back to the community, and I don't think any of us realized how successful it was. That whole sort of Inferno the bull meme, the picture, it being the mascot of the TitanX bull run, and us actually putting some sort of DeFi utility into it with a 90% buy and burn, I think really kind of caught some imaginations, and we had an absolute blast. So that was something I really enjoyed, and I wanted to kind of revisit that sort of MemeFi story and build on from that. So GoatX, I suppose, is a a bit like a brother from another mother, if you like, helping to continue that meme fire. And after that, we've seen so much more coming through. Alien X, E280, E369. Obviously, Phoenix has recently launched. There's Morpheus. The Matrix has gone live today. Congrats to Mike Dean on that. I had a little look. It looks pretty cool. So I think we're seeing this kind of birth within a newer industry within crypto industry, and it's coming out of Titan X. And I actually don't think the market realizes that yet. So as I said, I personally had my time of the life launching Inferno. Those 8 minting cycles that we had from every Friday to Saturday, it was 24 hours, were brilliant. The memes proliferating the internet, the culture it created. It was up only to the right for a long period of time, and just the whole vibes around it. So for me, it kind of MemeFi and Inferno and GoatX and what's come through since in Titan X is it's kind of bringing the fun back into crypto, really. And also, it's just accessible to the mainstream. So I think we're in a meme coin market. I know a lot of people have spoken about this. The Verse talks about it a lot. The younger generations get it. My kids actually helped with some of the design of GoatX. They absolutely loved it. I got a merch capsule arrive the other day, and they nicked all the T-shirts and the caps, and they were giving out to their mates, and they just love what it stands for. And as we know, it's quite scalable memes, and it can go viral at any time. I also think like humans like visuals, and they can access memes and brands and visuals more than the sort of complex tokenomics. So this is why I think sort of MemeFi has so much legs. And I do believe it's the kind of next evolution in crypto beyond just meme coins. And that's actually personally where I want to play and invest my time, money, and effort. Because as crypto graphics will tell you, being a builder, you do have to, and this, Utah, it does takes a pound of flesh, takes a lot of investment, and you're not guaranteed a return either. So you've got to be committed to it. So when I look at what meme coins have done, bringing millions into crypto through viral momentum, what the thing that I've realized is they've kind of really lacked lasting value. So MemeFi and GoatX really is looking to combine that sort of viral power of memes with real DeFi mechanics. And I've added some social architecture to it as well to give the protocol longevity, as well as some more credibility to the serious investor that gets turned off by just memes. And hopefully that social hierarchy will allow me to really build a long-lasting community and tribe, which every crypto needs when you're launching it. So let me just widen my screen a bit there, just to go through the first page. So look, before I kind of go through some of the sections, the protocol's vision and why it's called GoatX is probably worth covering. I think GoatX has a dual meaning that really perfectly captures sort of my vision and our vision. And I suppose on the one hand, one of the reasons that I did it is I'm a serious investor in Titan X, not just in Titan X, but some of the build on Titan X protocols that I've really backed. So I wanted to help Titan X become the greatest of all time in crypto. I do believe Titan X has the potential to be one of the best ecosystems. And as we know, memes can bring viral attention into new ecosystems and new eyes. So hopefully GoatX can bring in that new breed of investor, that retail investor into the community. But also the vision is bigger. So we don't want it just to be another token pump. We're actually, and what I want to do is build the foundation of MemeFi. And, GoatX has this kind of 92% burn and feed mechanics. It has this sort of, 5-tier classification system with benefits. And perpetual auctions and the social tiering system that I talked about. So, it's come about to really continue this story of MemeFi and hopefully bring retail into Titan X and of course be the greatest of all time in itself for meme coins, MemeFi and crypto as well. So clearly it's just the start. As we've seen, Utah, it's always quite nervous before you launch things. You have a bit of trepidation around, do you think something's going to, be successful or not? But we've had a good track record so far. So let me just dive into the goat paper a little bit. So if we look at the minting process, what we've done here is we've decided to go with just a 14 straight minting cycle following a 24-hour pattern. And the two things to note here are we made a decision to only do a 0.02 decrease. So it starts off as a 1-to-1 parity on cycle 1 in December the 28th, and then goes down to, at the end of 14 days later, cycle 14, 1 Titan X into 0.74 GoatX. So what we wanted to do was make sure that we didn't aggressively, decline the ratio as we've seen elsewhere, but also still, give enough time for people to come in at the start. But also, if people are starting to get in a bit later, they're still going to get a fair, sizable chunk, and they've also opportunities to DCA, which a lot of people like to do. The second thing, which I don't think's been done before, is we decided to put in a daily Titan X cap. So Inferno was 8 consecutive weeks. Obviously, we're sort of December 24, so we didn't want to do it once a week, and we didn't want to do it for 28 days. We want to do it for 14 days and get into hyperdeflationary cap supply as soon as possible. But we decided to put a cap. So what we're hoping is with that and the social tiering architecture, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the slower declining ratio, that it will encourage programmatic FOMO pressure. Now, we don't know if that will be the case, but it could be, and that's the theory behind the design, to give attention to the protocol for 14 days so it doesn't die out over the sort of front few days, which we've seen elsewhere as well. So that's quite important to cover. If we go into the GoatX supply and allocations, couple of things to note here. Now, the maximum theoretical supply of GoatX can only be 6.424 trillion tokens. That is calculated as the sum of all mint cycles at maximum. So if we don't mint out all mint cycles, that won't be the case. And of course, we've got buy and burn mechanics in here. So, that will decrease. A couple of things that we wanted to do, we made decisions on to give more longevity to the MemeFi protocol, was at the start, we were going to mint 1.816 trillion, which we put in the GOAT feed, which is the auction, perpetual auction system, which will support that. A further 288 billion GoatX for a full range LP in a GoatX Titan X V3 pair, and 288 billion GoatX to support future utility within GoatX for the user. Going on to the token distribution, the initial Titan X split per mint cycle, we have gone with the following. So there'll be 46% will go into the GoatX buy and burn pool. 30% will go into the Goat feed auction. 8% will be split between the Titan X Flux pool and burn, and the other half will be sent into the Phoenix protocol to be max staked forever, to really further support the Inferno Kingdom. That's a ecosystem that I've been right in the heart of, and that I wanted to continue to support and to help. Loving what Callum's doing with Phoenix as well, so we wanted to support that. 8% will go into the Inferno buy and burn. We want to continue eating away at that Inferno supply. As I said, one of the triggers to do this was off the back of the success of Inferno and some of the other build on Titan X protocols that came through, and we want to continue to contribute to the Inferno story. I think, Utah, are we at 58% total supply burnt for Inferno now, or is it 59?
I was literally just checking that on my phone. We are at 59, but we're creeping up on 60. I haven't pulled up the number yet, but
yeah. So I think that's the most of any supply being fully burnt in any crypto in Titan X, and I'm not sure outside of that. I can't say, but it's got to be right up there with fairly unique. So I'm a personal believer that Inferno has been slept on massively, and we want to continue to contribute to the hyper-deflationary aspect of Inferno and the Inferno Kingdom and protocols that are in that. symbiotic pull relationship and burn and pull relationship. Of course, we've got 8% Genesis, so no expectations there. Right, I'm just going to move on fairly quickly as so keen to hear about TORUS 2 and don't want to take all night on this. I think it's important spending a little bit of time on this tier classification system. So I think alongside the capped daily supply, in this GOAT paper, the other thing that I think is reasonably unique is this tier system. So the thinking behind it really is I took inspiration from rankings in NFT. So I was quite prevalent in the NFT boom in the last cycle, and how holders who built certain positions and certain numbers of NFTs were sort of rewarded across a ranking system, and then associated statuses in discords and input into the community and further sort of NFT launches. So I've taken some inspiration and design principles from that. Also, the whole sort of whale ranking system that we're used to in crypto. So shrimp to Poseidon. Also, the 1% total supply club that we use that narrative in Inferno. It's something that Marco, I think it's the Hexagon now, formerly the Hexagon, Marco the Hexagon, talks about getting 1% supply of all build on Titan X protocols. So we've taken a lot of that and build it into a structured tier system that will incentivize holders. So it's very much a design that we hope will build programmatic FOMO pressure, combining with the cap supply and the hyper deflationary nature, and of course all of the marketing ideas and stuff that we're doing there. So top of the tree is the Goat Father. I absolutely love anything to do with mafia and gangs. Sopranos, Goodfellas, Sons of Anarchy. I mean, and I just love all of that stuff. So the Goat X is a tribe. That's going to be a big part of the memeability of it, a big part of the story. I've got plans to do an animation around it as well. So the Goat Father is, the top of the tree, 1.5% supply plus. So I suppose that whale plus position, that, closing on a Poseidon kind of position. The Goat X is 1% supply, so whale position. Apex Goat is 0.5% supply plus, and Goatee is 0.25%. And then your entry point is based Goat. So, we're looking to create this kind of unique incentive structure for early adopters. And we've got this golden goat snapshot that will be taken within the first 88 days after the mint phase concludes. And then this snapshot will determine a holder's eligibility based on their place within the GoatX hierarchy. So we were going to do it for the top 3 tiers, but I've changed my mind. We're going to do it for the top 4 tiers. And look, each position means something. So it should be really interesting to see what happens with this. The 92% burn mechanics, the 14-day minting cycle with a slower decrease ratio, and the capped daily mint allocation of 288 billion Titan X. So it is a potential that these positions could become nearly impossible to replicate after mint if we get the timing right of the launch, which you can't really time the market, but we're in that sort of timing zone where things looking like they're about to reverse, which would be very nice indeed. We are also adding a leaderboard. So once you've secured your tier, you can share via the GoatX DApp and use each picture per tier as your PFP on X if you wish. So there's a clear path to climb. I want everyone to see the golden NFT as a ticket into the MemeFi space. We've got plans to continue this. We've got plans to reward holders, no expectations, but that is what we're going to be looking to do. And obviously our track record has been good so far in the Titan X ecosystem. Right, I'm just going to quickly move on here.
Can I ask a quick question on that? On the so just to clarify, with the 66 positions, 100 basically like the Goat Father, the Goat X, Apex Goat, all those have like a certain number of positions that can be chosen. Is that based on like within each range, the top 100 holders, the top 200, and the top 66, and so on?
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically the total amount that could ever be in existence if, let's say, 66 people decided to come in and secure a goat father, for instance, then
Right.
that
Okay.
would be it. So I mean, it's unlikely, right? We'd rather it probably wasn't just 66 holders, but at the same time, we'd also, we do want loyal investors who, that this protocol sings to, that our plans for marketing and our plans for the community, that they buy into it, they buy into this as an industry, and they like what we're doing now, what we do before launch, what we do at launch, and then of course, what we're going to continue to do. Because as you know, cryptographics, the hard work starts now, right? The build's reasonably easy, the design's fun, getting the memes out there are, they're fun, they're relatively easy, but it's the incessant marketing that we're going to have to do to build that groundswell of community. And some of the different marketing angles we're going to have to go for to really bring in fresh eyes into TitanX. I think that's what's really needed. Eric and I have been talking about this. I know he's started to do it by getting a few more of the trusted Coles involved, like Crypto Rover. And so far, I think one of his tweets had like 150k views, right? So that's only going to benefit.
100%. 100%. We definitely need to focus on the expansion side of it. But yeah, this is the hardest part. So, but it's fun that we have the community that we have, and we're going to do it together. It's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, and that's it. It's kind of, I've had a lot of people reach out to me in the community, sending direct messages, getting a bit frustrated with certain things, and I'm like, chill, man. Like, we're literally going through a correction phase. And there's not really any green candles, right? So we do need the green candles and the movement up. And then, TitanX could go from like 20,000 holders to 50,000 like in a week pretty quickly when retail arrives. So we need to stay grounded that the hard work has to happen every day to get that gain.
100%. Is every time. It's so funny that we end up in the same positions each time. Predictably, you can see after a nice run up of like 10x, like we did, that we're going to probably need a healthy correction.
Oh yeah.
And then when we correct, we get a lot of noise and hands up in the air and panic as if it's never happened before. And it's just funny. But yeah, it's up to us. And so even those who aren't building, but those who are dedicated to the ecosystem and want to see the future be as bright as we know it can be, to just stay consistent, stay on it, and let the noise just kind of do its thing.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. I see a bull market like a bear and a bull market cycle. It's like climbing Everest, right? You can't just go straight up. You got to climb up, climatize, get base camp. That's the kind of correction. When we had our last big leg up, it was pretty intense. A lot of us were like streaming every night and stuff. Sometimes you need to take a breather and then get refreshed to go again. So I think we're pretty close now to the next leg up. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I'm with you on that one. Fingers crossed, though.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let me just tick on here. We're getting towards the end, so we'll just highlight some of the other bits. Right. So Utah, the token buy and burn feed. I think the main things really to talk about here really is obviously we're going for V3. We don't have taxes. This obviously makes us more MEV resistant. On the buy and burn mechanics, we are going to retain admin rights for time and value cap, a bit like TitanX buy and burn V2. So obviously that's going to help us in high gas markets and give us more of a choice if we do get a bot attack and we can move things below profitability and manage slippage and all those kind of good things. The buy and burn breakdown, 46% allocated to buy, burn, and pull. 8% will be directed to an LP wallet, and 38% is used in the buy and burn contract for GoatX. And the remaining 30% of the total amount is allocated to the perpetual auction. So we really wanted to give this a lot of longevity. That's why we wanted to mint the extra part of GoatX into the auctions and also do 30% as well. Also worth noting, the TitanX for the auctions will buy GoatX off market and store it in this Goat feed, which then obviously feeds the Goat protocol. So moving on to the perpetual auctions, the main thing here to mention, everyone knows what these are, as we decided again for the longevity of the protocol, we were going to do 20%, but we modeled out how that would look, and we decided to go for 8% per day instead. And the reason that we wanted to do that was to give it that longevity. It actually seems low, but when you model it out, it's not. You know, there's a lot of GoatX coming into the auction every day via that, and gives it a lot more longevity for the protocol and the user. So that was the decision there. Couple of last things I'll say on the liquidity pools. You know, people have seen this before. Obviously, we want it very thin at launch to allow very little GoatX on market for bots to buy up and dump once it's out, and then we can add an extra 10k Titan X into the LP. You know, so that's what we decided to do there. And just getting into the sort of summary part of it. You know, really we want it to be a hyper-deflationary powerhouse. It's got multiple burn mechanisms, including minting burns, LP fee burns. We want to ensure an ever-decreasing supply, ecosystem synergy with Titan X and the Inferno ecosystem. We want it to be a beacon of the Titan X ecosystem, bringing in retail into what everyone else is doing and ourselves as well. Of course, Titan X ethos, fair and transparent, MEV protected, and we've always had sort of continuous value generation at the front of our mind when we've been designing it. So I'll just kind of conclude by saying, you know, I touched on it earlier. Look, with any protocol when you're launching it, it's all about, you know, leaning into it now and going full send on the marketing. So I am, as I say, I've been chatting to Eric. I'm talking to some calls. We will be investing in that angle to get some more eyes. The memeability of the goat is just off the Richter scale. Last night, the Mo and I were having a right laugh about, you know, started off with let's goat, then, you know, let's effing goat, and then, you know, make America goat again, and you know, and you might have seen in my X feed, which is Irish Crypto 4, you know, the amount of memes now that we're pumping out. We've got sort of between 5 and 6 a day. So I think with the memes, with we're going to have to invest in some calls and some influencers to sort of get behind it a bit, to keep it quite simple, so people can really click into it. And then hopefully with the Titan X community behind us as well, you know, we'll get off to a great start. And then it's just about marketing it hard now for the next year and so, whilst also building the MemeFi story and the MemeFi industry. And this is a sort of a pioneer after Inferno and some of the other build on Titan X protocols that, you know, some of us, you know, love and are getting behind. So yeah, I'll kind of finish off there by saying, you know, it is hoping to spark this MemeFi revolution and really enhance it, because it's fun, it's got longevity, it's got utility, it turns heads, and, you know, I do think it's a serious part of the Titan X ecosystem.
Awesome. Thanks for running that down for us. Yeah, I think memes and Titan X, even our memes are better, right? Like everything's better here. Like everything's elevated here. Like even our memes, they're cap supply. You know, they have mints, they have buy and burns. You know, not to mention they're just awesome meme tokens too. But everything in Titan X, man, it's completely different. Fair launch. You know, I love it. So yeah, and just to follow up, Inferno's burned 59.4% of his total cap supply. And you know, that doesn't count everything locked up in other liquidity pools and things like that. That's just straight burned out of existence forever. So, and I kind of feel like we are, you know, we're on a retracement, but it kind of feels like we're catching our breath, and then the second wave of protocol launches is just coming along right now. It's like everybody's been building in the background. It's like, okay, retracement, catch our breath. Now, boom, all these launches are coming on this wave. So it's actually pretty cool. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I mean, everything is better in Titan X. I mean, everything, and it is turning heads. And I reckon there's so many more influencers that are knees deep in this ecosystem but won't admit it. And we've just got to keep going, man. We've just got to keep going, because I loved what Jake put out recently, the TitanX.win, which is kind of really spelling out, the TitanX ecosystem and what's good about it. And when you look at the sort of the old model versus the TitanX model, I mean, you just sort of transpose that into the old meme coin model versus the new TitanX MemeFi model, and it's night and day. I mean, it's night and day. So at some point, those degens in Solana, Base, Tron, Ethereum, wherever they are, especially when the rugs increase as the bull market really takes off, some point one of them is going to come over here, make a killing, tell all of their mates in some sort of Telegram, they're all going to come flooding over. So we just got to keep consistent and celebrate all the innovation going on in TitanX. And I'm confident, we're going to have our day. I really am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the same. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Graphics.
Oh, I was just going to agree and say, I think one of the most special things is about, like, no matter where you go in this ecosystem, whether it's memes, utility, stores of value, it's all just a level up from what we're used to seeing everywhere else in crypto. And it's just such a revolutionary space that you're right. Whether you're into memes or whether you're into stores of value or into utility or into, soon like lending protocol, like whatever, there is going to be so much to offer that is so far ahead of previous generations of what's been built. And it's just awesome, and to your point too, it is only a matter of time before people start to catch on. It's not, for me, it's not an if, it's a when. And it might be soon, might be a little bit later. It depends on, like we were talking about before, how much work we put in, how well the memes go viral, like how we market our strategies. But I mean, it seems like an inevitability to me because of the way this whole ecosystem just operates as as the fundamental values that it operates on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like Irish was saying, the verse, shout out to him. Chris was out here saying they'll come for the memes. We got to get their attention with the memes. And then they come into the TitanX ecosystem and find out about everything else. And I think that's very valuable. And I would tend to agree with it. And look at all the stuff that we have here. We have, like, what flavor would you like, right? Like, we have an entire menu in a little over a year. It's actually unbelievable how much building has happened here. And it's just beautiful. I'm just grateful to be part of it. It's awesome to see and awesome to experience. So, Graphics, do you want to talk a little bit about TORUS? Do you want me to pull up the white paper, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, let's pull up the white paper. And before we do that, I also want to say too, like, I also agree with you on the meme front. Like, if you look at life anywhere, doesn't matter if it's in crypto, what brings people in is the narrative, the image, the meme that they can get behind. And if you look at what people that are not into crypto can get behind within crypto, it's usually not some deep utility altcoin on the fringe of Ethereum or any other blockchain. It's something with the dog image, it's a cat image, it's a stupid name, it's something that happened in current events. It's something people can rally behind. And so I would agree that narrative and memes, images are probably, like you're saying, the first thing that's going to actually bring people in. And then when they come here and they realize there's other things they can play with as well that are supplemental to what they want, maybe they're, hopefully, and I think they will, stay longer. So I am completely in agreement. Memes are like the most important thing. Like, everything is a meme coin in some way, shape, or form. It's the only way anyone has any idea what the hell we're doing is by creating some form of a meme.
It's like top of the spear, isn't it? Or the highest flag,
Yep.
Some people, they might buy into Inferno, or they might buy into GoX, or they might be a Matrix fan, right? And love Morpheus and Matrix, and who cares, right? As long as it brings them in and brings new eyes in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%.
Okay, I'll pull up that white paper. And yeah, on that note, Dragon X, has been getting shielded by Crypto Rover. I hold a little Dragon X, but that's a totally different kingdom from where I'm at or whatever. You know what? I don't care. I'm over there. I'm sharing it, I'm commenting on it, I'm doing all that, and I see a lot of that going on in Titan X. Like, I don't care if it's somebody else's project because of the ethos. We're all working together. We're all trying to tackle this supply, and we're all trying to bring new users in. So it's like I don't see a ton of tribalism here. I see a lot of people working together for a common goal, and it's pretty damn awesome.
Well, what's cool is you got these green circles around all the profile pictures on X, and what's cool is like those are like breadcrumbs, and when you start seeing them, you can't stop seeing them, and you just follow those green circles, and you all of a sudden you start realizing how wide this ecosystem is and how much there's to offer. And I mean, shout out to Jake for this green circle idea, genius, because it's so easy to just find new things whenever you see green circles. You know exactly what that means.
Yeah, people can say what they want about the ethos, but honestly, to me, it's the secret sauce. It's what makes all this work, really. And so I'm actually happy to be part of it. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, we're all burning Titan X, we're all working together, helping each other. We're all out here marketing and trying to do our thing. And man, without the ethos, I don't think this thing runs this way. So that's my 2 cents on it.
And we've got to protect it at all costs, right? Life's hard enough in real life. Crypto, like that's why Utah, we met right in the mastermind. We were looking for something where we could find a community where we felt we belonged, where, you could actually, get a hive mind to make better decisions in crypto. And then this mushroomed into a, community that really stood behind fair crypto and fair principles and fair launches and doing the right thing by the user. So we just got to protect that at all costs because it's super rare.
That's what makes this place special.
Yeah.
That whole ethos.
Yep, that's the secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about TORUS.
Let's go.
All right. So TORUS is a system that is the first of its kind. Now, the simple way of understanding it is no matter what TORUS brings to the table is no matter what the profitability is within the protocol, no matter what the price chart is doing, you're always able to make your TORUS work for you. So even if the price chart is down, you can earn yourself back into a position of making an ROI just by continuing to play the game. You never have to sit in panic thinking, oh my God, I'm screwed. What am I going to do? The price chart has to go back up. You can just keep working in the system, and eventually, maybe sooner than later, then you will find yourself back into an ROI position, which is the whole point of TORUS and is the innovation that TORUS brings to the table that has not been done before. Now, I have to go a little deeper. How does it work? So it's very similar to mining protocols, but it adds an element of staking that separates it. And the main difference with TORUS for any other protocol is where the supply comes from. So typically when you mine or you stake, there is let's say in a mining protocol, right, there is an amount of supply that you create up front that you get when your miner is done, right? There's not a central source, a central pool, or a central place that you have to compete with anyone from or for. You are effectively, in mining protocols, just earning based on the economic energy you put in based on the day in that protocol. What separates TORUS from mining protocols is when you are, in TORUS, it's called creating or creation. When you create in TORUS, similar to mining, you're going to create an amount of tokens up front. This is called your principal. Now, this is what you get as your base, almost mint, you could think about as an exchange of value. You put ETH or Titan X into the protocol, and you are going to get TORUS for that, to make sure that you get something for putting something in the system. On top of that, when you choose to earn between 1 and 88 days, which is the max for both creating or staking, you're going to go and you're going to earn on top of what you've created from the TORUS pool. So you can think about this as like it's way easier to earn an ROI because of this. If everyone was going in on, and the only way you could earn tokens was from this central pool, the profitability would drop tremendously, very quickly. But when you have people with tokens they've created up front, it allows for a very high ceiling before the amount of profitability goes out the window. And it allows for lots of growth and expansion and maturity for a much larger market in the future. Is that all making sense so far? I'm giving the overview here before we go into the more of the details, but is that all making sense so far?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Sorry. You might want to just tell me when to change page, when to go to the next section, because I'm just like, oh, I'm trying to keep up with you. So you want me to back up?
No, that's totally fine. I wasn't trying to go too deep in the details. I was really trying to just a simple overview still, but because there's so many details that really change how to think about TORUS. But let's go back to the simplified page here, and I'll talk about, because I really want to get the specifics of what makes TORUS different than any other protocol. Because I've seen a lot of people ask, is it just another mining protocol? Is it just another staking protocol? And a better question that we can get to later, which is, can something like Dragon X be built on it and then take all the rewards from the users? And we'll answer that in a bit, because it's a great question. If you scroll down a little bit, there's an image there. And what you'll see is this is how simple TORUS is. You choose between creating or staking. In either way, you are entering the same pool, which you then earn TORUS tokens from. At the end of the period you choose, you then claim. It's really that simple. Now, under the hood, though, it's sophisticated. There's a ton of game theory, and it's there is a lot that goes into it. But in an overview, or in a very simplistic overview, this is it. You have two decisions. Do you create or do you stake? And that's it. And in terms of how it relates to the Titan X ecosystem, of course, it's fair launch. There's no VCs. There's no insider anything. There's no pre-allocations given. Genesis, which we'll talk about later too, doesn't even get an allocation. There's no way for anyone to obtain TORUS except for the people that participate with either Titan X or ETH. So the second aspect that we haven't talked about yet is the staking. Now, staking is super unique to TORUS, and we'll go more into the details here. But the one thing I want to really hit home with the staking is how it relates and how it gets you into the TORUS pool, right? So you have this central pool here that is giving out TORUS daily to anyone that is earning in the pool. But the question is, how does staking get you in the same pool as creating? And this is from when you create or you stake. Either action gives you in the system what's called shares. And once the system can see that you have shares, it only looks at those to see how many of the TORUS tokens per day it's going to give you based on everyone else in the pool. And so there's a whole lot of game theory here that we can go into, but just for simplicity's sake, is that making sense? You have a central pool and you've got two actions that both give you shares that allow for different timing and different market conditions to utilize, or different strategies. But either way, you're getting shares for choosing one of those, which both enter you into the TORUS pool. Is that making sense?
Yes,
Yep.
I'm following you.
Yep, following it.
Perfect. Okay, so as a completely super simple overview, that's TORUS. And if you get the simplicity of it, there is just hold on, because there is so much more to it. And we'll talk about like how much TORUS goes in per day. We'll talk about the amount of TORUS that you can get for creating with 100 power on day one. But I want to talk about the secret sauce of TORUS, or one of the few secret sauces that go into it. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's essentially two different contracts. Well, three. Well, there's obviously Genesis. There's 8% to address called Genesis with no further explanation or expectations. But the secret sauce here is that 84% of all the Titan X and ETH that comes in goes to the buy and burn. 8% goes to enhancing liquidity and pairing TORUS with X28, because that is a huge component in and of itself, that it's linked with X28 and not Titan X. But effectively, 92% of all the economic energy that comes in goes back into TORUS and supporting TORUS. It doesn't go anywhere else. It goes directly to TORUS. Now, there is a fractal in there. We'll talk about that a little later. If you're familiar with the vortex in either Hydra or Hyper, it's more or less the same thing. Different length of time that it comes out. It's actually supposed to be 28% instead of 8% there. That should be, I missed that on the editing side of it, so apologies. But that is one of the many secret sauces with TORUS. So I'll pause there and just see if you guys have any questions real quick or needed to clarify anything before we go deeper into the creation side, the staking side, the distribution, the penalties, all that stuff.
All good so far for me. Quite keen to hear a bit more of the meat.
Perfect.
Yuta?
Yep, I got it so far. Sorry, I'm over here watching the comments. I get distracted. All right.
Perfect. So let's go to the supply mechanics for 1 second. I want to talk about the TORUS pool and how that works, what kind of supply is going to be coming out. And then we'll link that to creating as well. So when you are staking or you're creating, you are effectively going to be earning TORUS from the TORUS pool. Now, this will all be under the supply mechanics tab for what I'm about to talk about here. But effectively, on day 2, because day 1, everyone gets to come into the protocol. They get to make the decisions on what they want to do. Do they want to create or do they want to stake? And by the way, when you are making these decisions in the DApp, there's going to be a giant ROI that tells you is creating higher or is staking higher in ROI. And typically that's what you're going to want to do. So it's going to be that easy to make decisions. It's not going to be some complex and you take out your calculator, have a model. You just need to be able to read numbers. That's it. And be able to make a decision based on that as a very basic overview. But where the ROI comes from is from the TORUS pool in combination with the tokens you create up front. But the TORUS pool is really what I want people to understand, because 100,000 tokens per day, well, it's 100,000 tokens on day 2 will be distributed to anyone in the pool. On the 3rd day, it'll be 100,000 tokens minus 0.08%. So that 100,000 tokens is perpetually decreasing by a very small amount each day, perpetually. And so I posted this on my TORUS page, which on our TORUS X page is, if TORUS is anywhere from $1 to $1.75, you're seeing about $10 to $15 million being distributed over the first 88 days in TORUS. So think about that for a moment. That is a lot of tokens. It is a lot to be had, possibly large ROI. And it allows, though, for a lot of people to come in and play ball, right? And so this, though, is where we can get in. Well, I guess we'll later get into the staking side of it, but this is where the consistent aspect of the supply mechanics are going to come in. And so if we go to creation now, or to the create TORUS tab, we can talk about how the secondary, or it is the primary method of creation, token creation within the ecosystem. And it's very, very similar to mining. Now, again, the verbiage is different, or just the lingo is different, where we're not talking about mining, we're saying creating. But like Hydra, 1 to 88 days is the max that you can choose to create over. Now, there is power as well. So you can create with 100 power. You can create with a minimum of 1 all the way up to a maximum of 10,000 power. Now, there's a bunch of fancy math here, but it's effectively the longer you choose to create for and the larger the power, the more tokens you're going to get. And with 100 power on day 1, you're going to get 1,000 TORUS. If you choose to create with 100 power in only a single day as your earning length or your creating length, you're only going to generate 11.36 TORUS. So this is huge when you try to understand, or when we talk about how the shares come into play, because your shares are determined by the tokens that you get from creating up front, multiplied by essentially the length that you choose. So if you are getting 11.36 tokens on one day, and your earn length is only 1, you're essentially only getting 11.36 shares. And for 100 power creation, that gets you 7,744,000 shares. So your potential earning ability in the pool goes down exponentially when you're creating for a shorter period. So it's really impactful it's really important to understand this. And for people that are potentially wanting to play ball on day 1, you need to understand that as people are coming into the pool, the potential rewards over time are also going to shrink. So if you're creating for less than the max length, you do need to be careful potentially, because you can go in for, let's say, 10 days, because the ROI when you go in looks like it's going to be really high, but the next day more people come in, and the next day more people come in, and the next day more people come in, which can shrink your ROI. So you have to be careful when you are going for shorter periods, and you really need to know what you're doing. That making sense with the creation costs, the power shares, all that?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
So that's more the simple aspects. It's closer to mining, but let's go to staking, because this is the thing that separates TORUS from every other protocol. Normally, when you stake, staking is either at the heart of the protocol, which is the only way to earn supply, or staking is supplemental, where you earn from a separate pool, or you earn a separate token outside of the main token. Like in Titan X, you staked and you earned ETH. Right? In Hyper, you do stake and you do earn Hyper as well, but it is different, and it is not quite the same, because in TORUS, you only can stake for a maximum of 88 days, and that gets you the max amount of shares possible for the amount of tokens that you want to stake. And so you don't need to commit to 10 years. You don't need to commit to 5 years. You don't even need to commit to a year. You can continuously play the game and make decisions regularly. And that's not even the secret sauce of staking. What really is the secret sauce of staking is that it allows you to, when times are negative, let's say an ROI for creating, you can still use your TORUS to earn more tokens and compound. And while you're doing that, the system is also going to protect you, because for the first time in staking, there is a 5% cost to actually stake TORUS in the protocol. And the reason why this is chosen is when the price of TORUS is above a certain point, which I can talk about, it's called the fair value point, if you will, then it becomes more profitable to create. And when this same event occurs, this 5% fee disincentivizes people from staking when it's more beneficial to create, right? And focuses people's actions in one direction, instead of making this a weird decision like, how do I know when to stake? How do I know when to create? It focuses people on creating instead of staking. Now, if the price goes below around 10% of that middle point, where now creating is no longer making as much sense, now what's happening is you can buy TORUS for cheaper on the market and pay a 5% fee, which is still cheaper than the creation costs. So now you're getting a discount, and all this Titan X or ETH, you can choose which one you want to do, goes into the buy and burn and the buy and build as well. Same routing as all the other Titan X and ETH in the system. Is that making sense?
Still with you.
Perfect.
Yes. So basically, there's 3 components here as far as your staking, your creating, or your market buying. But even if you're market buying, you're still bringing value into the system, because the 5% that it's going to cost you to start that stake.
Exactly. And you're helping the buy and burn, because if you're buying on the market, you're essentially kind of being a buy and burn for 88 days. And if the majority of people that are in the system decide, or any large number, whether it's 20%, 30%, 40% of users who are normally going to be playing ball in this way of creating or staking, decide to stake, this completely alleviates, not completely, but really alleviates the sell pressure that the buy and burn has to do with, and allows for the buy and burn to potentially bring up the price and make staking, or that choice to stake, very profitable, or have a solid ROI. So all actions that people can take that are in their own best interest are also in the best interest of TORUS and the system and everybody else, which is how it was designed. Did you want to read that question? Or sorry, I missed it came up and went down so fast. So the 8% that enters Genesis goes back into the TORUS system for creating and staking. Could you explain the logic? No. So Genesis is just, it's going to receive 8% of all the Titan X or ETH that comes into the system. It is an address that, yes, it's not going back into the system. It's its own entity. It's its own address. It has its own agenda, and you shouldn't expect it to do anything.
But there was an 8% in there that does do that, right? Not the Genesis 8%, but wasn't there another 8% in there that builds the liquidity?
Yes. So there's the buy and burn, which has 84%. And we'll talk about when we get to the distribution, because there's two phases actually. But for the purpose of just the majority of time that Torus is going to exist, it's going to have 84% that goes to buying and burning and 8% that goes to buying and building. Now, within the 84% buy and burn, there's the fractal, which is a vortex, essentially, more or less, which is going to lock up some of, which will be 28% of what comes into the buy and burn, and keeps it locked up for 110 days and releases it back into the buy and burn after day 110. That's where that other 8%, well, it should have been 28%, but I realized I missed actually a number in there, which I apologize for, which is definitely why the confusion's there, I'm assuming.
Okay, gotcha. I'm following you.
Sweet.
Do you want to go to the next section?
I just want to quickly clear the air on the staking, where that 5% comes from. Like, what does 5% mean? And so when you're staking, and let's say you're staking on day 1, 1,000 tokens, right? The system looks and compares what you're staking to creating. And if you're staking 1,000 tokens, then the system's going to say, okay, how much ETH or Titan X does it cost to create that amount of tokens as of today? Because there's difficulty measures in place as well, similar to the TORUS pool. Every day, the amount of TORUS you can create at 100 power decreases by 0.08% as well. So this means that on day 1, if you want to essentially create or stake 1,000 TORUS, you would need to pay 5% of that creating cost to create those tokens. It's really that simple. That just looks over to the creating side, 5% of whatever it costs to create that amount of tokens. Make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Shares are the exact same as creating. It just looks at the tokens that you're going to stake multiplied by your length that you've chosen, and that is squared. So let's say you wanted to do a max length stake with 1,000 tokens. It'd be 1,000 tokens times 88 squared, which would be 7,744,000 shares that you would get, which would bring you into the TORUS pool. And that allows the system to allow stakers and creators into the same pool. And that's really as simple as staking is. And you can choose, like I was asked questions before of, do I need to create in order to stake? Do I need to do anything specific to stake? What if I only stake? I mean, you don't need to create to do any staking. You can buy it off the market. But however you obtain TORUS, you can choose to stake. Doesn't matter how you get it, but as long as you have it, you can stake it. Go ahead, Utah, or Irish, if you sound like someone was going to say something there.
Oh, I was just going to say something. So if I break TORUS down very simply, the mechanics are designed in such a way to where if any one part of the staking, the creation, or the market buying, if any one of those sections is giving a better ROI and a better deal, you drive the economic energy over there. So it's kind of balancing itself out at all times. Is that what I'm trying to grasp here?
That's exactly what it is. It's like a self-balancing system where it incentivizes the behavior that's needed for balance to be obtained within TORUS.
Awesome.
Well, I haven't heard anyone put it that way. I'm gonna put that one in the back pocket. Thank you for that.
I have to break things down so simply. You know what I mean? Just so I can understand it. You know, and like, to me, I have to visualize it like in my mind. Like, okay, how is this working? You know, so it just helps me.
Well, you just helped me too, so thank you for that. That was great.
You bet.
Other than staking, I mean, we've talked about the earning. I think can we go to the earning for a sec just to see if I've missed anything on that front? But earning is really just talking about, going into or earning shares, which I think we've gone over, the TORUS pool, and I think we're good here. I don't think there's anything else that I missed. So yeah, 100,000 tokens starts on day 2. That comes out, decreases by 0.08% per day. That same percentage decrease is for creating as well. So 100 power creation also decreases. Yeah, I think we've touched all those. So maybe let's go to the Titan X and ETH distribution, because there's 2 phases here. for the Titan X and ETH distribution. There is now the buy and burn, the buy and build, and Genesis. Well, Genesis doesn't have any phases. It's just, it is what it is. It's just 8%. But the buy and burn and the buy and build, it's important to understand the first 28 days versus day 29 onward. So because the first 28 days is focused on the buy and build, let's start with that. So the buy and build gets 28% of all the economic energy that comes in the form of Titan X and ETH into the system. And this allows for, let's say, $1 million comes in. That means $280,000 is going to be able to be put into liquidity. If, let's say, $10 million comes into the protocol, and it could be over 28 days, it doesn't have to be day one, right? Let's say things are going really well and $10 million comes in. Well, that means $2.8 million will be able to be added to the liquidity pool from that first 28 days. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be added within 28 days, but the buy and build contract will have that. So it's important to understand. And that was chosen because liquidity is imperative. A system like TORUS needs liquidity. Otherwise, you have this crazy one person wins and a bunch of other people have to really wait, in order to potentially get a win again, because the volatility is just off the charts. And especially if you're setting up thick liquidity initially, when Titan X and the ecosystem starts to run, if TORUS has $2.8 million in liquidity and Titan X and friends do 10X and TORUS holds the ratio, then that means TORUS is going to have $28 million in liquidity. So that you want to get liquidity in there as soon as possible and make it as thick as possible, which is why this decision was made. And if we go back to the buy and burn, in the first 28 days, instead of it being 84%, it's 64% instead of 84, which is still pretty big. And if you add up the total buy pressure, you're still getting 78% buy pressure within the first 28 days, which is still huge. But when we go back to phase 2, this is where things revert back to normal. Now, phase 2 is back to 84% for the buy and burn and 8% for the buy and build. The whole time in the buy and burn, because there's this whole fractal that's in it, storing for a later date, for a rainy day, Titan X and ETH, that's still 28% the whole time. So effectively, again, first phase, 28 days. After that, perpetual, never changes again. Now, the one thing I want to hit home here for all of this, because this is where we get into one of the most important things to understand about how it impacts Titan X, is the routing of the buy and build and the buy and burn. All Titan X or all ETH that comes into the system buys Titan X. All of the Titan X is then put through X28, which means 46% of everything that comes into the TORUS protocol will set in Titan X value will be burnt. So to put it more simply, $10 million comes in, that means $4.6 million in Titan X is going to be burnt. If $100 million comes in over a course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, then you have $46 million in Titan X that will be bought or burnt. And that's the secret sauce of TORUS, is using X28. Because if you're not familiar with X28, for those of you watching, X28 is 1-to-1 transform, or what you can do, to X28. And so when you put Titan X into X28 and you transform it, right away, 50% of Titan X is just burnt straight up. And so this is what TORUS leverages. And because it's perpetual, it has the potential to, like Jake said in our last stream, to be like a chainsaw to the Titan X supply, continuously, perpetually, for all of time. And that's what's going to create this crazy feedback loop of, the more people play ball in TORUS, the more people want to compound, and the more people just play in any way, shape, or form, the more Titan X gets sucked into the system and then burnt. And this causes this positive feedback loop to feed into Goat X, Inferno, Blaze, Dragon X, all the kingdoms of the ecosystem, and bring everybody up. And that is like the secret of all secret sauces within TORUS, is using X28 to allow basically all the economic energy to funnel into Titan X and burn the majority of it.
No one's got enough Titan X, have they?
No, no, absolutely not. It's going to go so fast. especially as this bull really start to take off. I mean, in conjunction with everything else that's being built, I mean, it's going to be wild to see how fast those numbers evaporate. And the crazy thing is too, with the numbers that we're seeing right now, with like 0.3% per day, X28 isn't even really doing what it was designed to do. It's just kind of slowly chipping away. It's just kind of existing at this point. It's not even turned on. So if you turn on X28 and you turn on TORUS and you turn on all these other protocols like GoatX and every other protocol that's taking Titan X off the market or burning it, man, you're in like the most hyper bull scenario you could ever be in.
Yeah, it's elevated even the core ethos, right? Because now, if depending on your protocol and if there's a way for you to use it, people are choosing to use it. And I know we're doing it on stacks and pushing Titan X through X28. That's a 50% buy and burn. You don't have to design a buy and burn. If there's a way that you can utilize this and you're pushing it through there, that's a 50% buy and burn. And like you said, that helps everybody, because when we take Titan supply off the market, we're helping every single protocol. I mean, we see it when Titan pumps, everything turns green. We saw it yesterday. I'm seeing it over and over again, and it's going to get more wild, and it's going to get crazy.
100%, especially too when you think about X28 going multi-chain finally, because now you've got that value that is basically exchanged 1-to-1, and now you're distributing that far and wide and locking that up on different chains and different contracts and different liquidity pools. And now you're in a position where really you have a supply constriction that can't come back. It can't. The value is tied up now, so that value can't just come back through X28. Which is the crazy part. And that's really going to set things off on another level, which is super, super exciting.
Yeah, because right now it's only being used for one protocol.
Exactly.
It's only being used for Shogun. We haven't even begun to start utilizing X28 yet, and it's already making a huge difference.
Yep. Just wait.
What's it burning at the moment per day? It was burning like a whale position in the first 14, Titan X whale position every day for the first 14 days, wasn't it?
Something hundreds, 400 billion a day.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's just nuts, man. Yeah, and the crazy part of the numbers, like we were saying, the machines haven't even really been turned on yet.
Yeah.
So, but I guess coming back to this real quick. So the first 28 days has a phase. Second 28, or after day 29 or day 29 onward, it goes back into its normal settings. But something interesting that I haven't heard a lot of conversation about quite yet is the liquidity setup. So of course, first 60K in Titan X is transformed into X28 and paired with one time into TORUS of 60K, of course, in a full range Uniswap V2 liquidity pool. And this is going to be done by the buy and burn smart contract. All LP tokens are going to be burnt, but there's another LP pool that is going to be created, or a liquidity pool that's going to be created. And this is going to come from the first 60K in ETH, which buys wrapped Pulse, mints 60K in TORUS, and bridges both to Pulse Chain to create a wrapped Pulse, wrapped TORUS pair on PulseX V2. This is going to be sent to a one-time liquidity wallet, which will take these actions, and all the LP tokens over there are going to be burnt regardless. And this is another Easter egg. I've said this many times, but this may or may not be a setup. Why else do you put a liquidity pool somewhere? I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. This is getting wild now. So, okay.
And at the end.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, for me, I feel so blessed to be here so early, because all these projects are launching early and I don't have to spend a lot of economic energy to grab positions, because a lot of this stuff, these protocols aren't one trick ponies. This is get your hands on as much of the supply as you can and let things play out.
Definitely being early is better, especially in protocols like TORUS, because and GoatX too, because once the initial phases go away, the likelihood of either adoption or you just gaining being able to work with whatever system is designed to get tokens is completely out of your favor. Completely.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love that kind of 1% supply club ethos. If you can get in super early in some protocols, you can really pick that up. And if you just hold, especially with where we're sitting now in the bull run zone, that could really make a difference,
100%. So I guess other than liquidity pools, the only others, I guess one other thing that we got to talk about in TORUS, which is the grace periods and penalties. And this is just really simple. If you stake or you create, no matter what, the TORUS protocol cannot take your tokens that you staked or created initially as your principal as penalties, or it will not. You have 14 days to claim your principal, either it's what you've created or you staked, plus what you've earned. After the 14 days, you're going to get 7 days where each day an even amount of what you've earned is going to be removed and redistributed back into the TORUS pool. So 14.28% per day is going to go from your hands to somebody else's after 14 days. But TORUS will not penalize the amount of tokens you've created or staked for any reason.
So none of your initial will ever get penalized, but you will be penalized on your yield.
Exactly. I really wanted to create a protocol that had the lowest risk, lowest punishment, lowest penalties, while still also making it fair. I want people to be comfortable coming in and knowing that, okay, if I play ball and something happens, life happens, and I can't be in my computer for 14 days, I still have what I put in.
Yeah, I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than fair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty fair.
So, I mean, as far as the overview, like you said, it's a self-balancing system. You create or you stake and you earn. That's really it. Where do you guys want to go from here? Because there's so much to talk about from the game theory standpoint. There's also the Dragon X side of things. I'd be curious to hear any questions you have or anything that needs clarity.
Well, I'd be interested in, say, it's a difficult one because I know you're the founder, but if you were a user listening to this and you were thinking, how do I play the TORUS game? What kind of different strategies could you use to play the TORUS game? And what have you been thinking about doing?
Oh, it's a fun question because there's a ton. The first kind of game you can play is early is better and most likely, right? Early is usually the most profitable time. But obviously that's not necessarily always the case. There's probability there. So the first strategy obviously is, just take advantage of the ROI and move on. The second strategy is to use it as a compounding protocol, right? So you're consistently using it over time. And by going from TORUS back into Titan X, recreate or creating again, finishing your period, going back into Titan X again, basically exiting in Titan X and continuing to compound is a fantastic way to build either your TORUS bag or to build your position elsewhere. In a nutshell, that's what it was designed to do. And when you do that, you're doing the most beneficial actions for the system and for the users as well, because you're putting more economic energy back into the system to utilize. So from a super simplistic overview, that's really what it was designed to do. But strategically, if we look at the mechanics, something that's really special for TORUS, for let's say bigger players, is if you get yourself in the position where you have an amount of tokens where you're like, holy crap, what do I do with this? Typically, if you have a position that's like 2, 3, 4, 5 times bigger than what's in liquidity, you're kind of sitting there like, well, what do I do? I got to slowly exit, and the staking though is a really cool saving grace where now you as a larger player can come in and you can compound some of your bag as much as either convenient or as appropriate or however much you feel like doing. And then what you could do is you could take the rest of your bag and you could simply stake it. So that way you're mitigating slippage. So it's basically got like a lessening of slippage feature in it for bigger players that can still earn while they have a bag that they don't necessarily want to, or they don't want to, or feel like they should, completely exit to go back in. to the creating side. Now, what's cool is when it comes to the simple game theory, is because you can go, and I'll go over the X28 side of things in just a second. But when it comes to creating and staking, you might think, okay, well, if I'm going to go ahead and create, and then later on down the line, staking is going to be more profitable. I mean, do I need to stake then, or do I need to be worried about being wrecked or anything like that? It's quite simple. Whereas the action you choose now that is the most beneficial will play out better in the future, or will play out the best in the future for that moment. If you ever feel like you want to, let's say you're creating, and this ties into strategy, is allowing yourself to play both sides depending on market conditions. So let's say you are creating, and 44 days in, price comes down, and now staking is higher ROI by quite a bit, meaning you can buy TORUS on the market and pay the 5% fee and get into the TORUS pool. Essentially, you can buy shares at a discount, and you can earn at a discount to increase your position in the pool over that period. And so you can play both sides of these equations to build your position over time and gain share over the pool, which is a really cool way of doing it as well.
Interesting. Keeps it sticky. So to what you said at the start, so longer pays better, potentially, not financial advice, but looking historically at other similar protocols that have done similar things. Secondly, sort of post 88 days, we've not just the compounding option or the staking option. Have you any signpost about future product development or ecosystem development, or any sort of postcard for the future that you'd be willing to share? Or is it too early to ask that?
It's too early to be able to comment on that. But like I said, that wrap pulse pool may be something to think about.
Okay. Worth a go. It was worth a go.
I appreciate it. When if there's something that needs to be said, I will say it as soon as it's appropriate to.
That's fair.
Yeah. So can you expand on the X28 side of things? So I guess because we talked about the multi-chain side of things. We talked about how it impacts TORUS. Do you guys have an idea of, or Callum, maybe you can specify in terms of TORUS or omni-chain? I'd be curious. Or do you guys have an idea of what he might mean by that?
I'm thinking how you use it in TORUS.
Gotcha.
Is what I'm thinking.
Okay, let's do that then. So when people come in, because you can come in with only ETH or Titanx, all of that ETH, well, 92%, because 8% goes to Genesis. The rest of that ETH buys Titanx. Now, all of the Titanx, whether it's bought using the ETH or arrives just from people using Titanx to mint, is used to transform into X28. Now, this is huge to understand because, like I was saying, the Titanx that goes through this process, 50% of it is immediately burnt and will have a massive impact on Titanx. And because TORUS is paired to the Titanx value, which is going to be X28 in the liquidity pool, what happens is if TORUS is removing Titanx at a rapid rate while the demand is still there and you have outside demand coming in from the ETH side, what happens is you get Titanx being pushed up and you have TORUS attached at the hip to it. So TORUS will go up with Titanx and X28. The more TORUS creates this feedback loop, which also pulls everything up. So it's kind of the perfect storm. And because of X28, TORUS is able to basically be an extraordinarily selfish protocol, which also is a very has a very giving protocol in the fact that it affects everybody else as well. So by acting in its own interest, it actually helps everybody out the most as well, which was a really cool design that kind of came in almost. It was like a last minute thing that came out right as Jake was announcing it. And I realized as soon as he said it, and he said 50% of the Titanx is burnt, it dawned on me that I needed to use this. And of course, when you're going from TORUS back into Titan X, you have to go from TORUS X28 to Titan X. But typically, when you're swapping the routing on whether you're on CalFi or you're on using the Titan X Hub, CalFi aggregator, or Uniswap, there's likely to be just a single transaction going from TORUS to Titan X. So you won't have to worry about any of that. And basically 92% though of all the economic energy that comes in at least ends up in X28, which is huge. Then the rest of that basically was so 88% total ends up in TORUS, which is crazy. And this is the beauty of using X28 and how beneficial it is for TORUS.
That was a great explanation. Bullish. So bullish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be curious to hear if you guys have, I know I've said a lot, so I'm sure there's processing going on and whatnot, but
you got a question here for thoughts on scale. So I don't know whether he's asking if it does what he's asking on the tin there, just around scaling adoption or protocol adoption. Not sure. Is one of the questions.
Maybe he means the protocol scale, but I'm not super well versed in scale actually, so I couldn't make too much of a comment on it. But if he means thoughts on scaling, I mean I can definitely talk to that. The point of TORUS is to allow people that have no idea what the hell Titan X is to understand something, come in, play ball with ETH, which is what the ecosystem of Titan X needs, bring that in, affect everybody, and play the game of TORUS without ever knowing that they're helping a whole set of infrastructure underneath it, right? And that's why I chose the coloring I did. That's why I chose the logo and the name I did, was because I really am trying to make this a protocol and bring this to people from all walks of life in crypto and DeFi and outside that can basically see this, learn about it, and want to participate and have as little steps as possible that they need to take in order to, or hurdles, I should say, to entry. Like one of the things and the reason I chose to do this is because, if you look over at the Pulse Chain ecosystem, even something as simple as an IPFS link turned off so many people, frightened so many people, and it's a white button, right? And so from that alone, and there's so many other learnings that have happened since then, it just seemed incredibly important that people don't need to have a damn clue. They don't need to have a clue what Titan X is. They need to take as little action as possible. It needs to be as seamless as possible while still bringing that infrastructure in to the ecosystem. And that's why we have the setup, or that's why TORUS is what it is.
That's a really good angle. I've been in this ecosystem for so long that sometimes I can't see the forest through the trees. So that's a very good point, bringing in outside users, because that's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're also bolstering the Titan X ecosystem. And once they start playing TORUS, they'll start looking around and seeing some other things, and they might want to start participating in other protocols. So yeah, I really like that approach. It's different. Everything you're doing here is completely different from anything I've ever seen or heard of or participated in. So it's very interesting. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be wild. And like Srey is saying in the comments, there's lots of game theory to digest when it comes to even the share rate alone. And this is one of those protocols where, and also just on the bring the Hex maxis over, I've been seeing a lot of Pulse Chain and a lot of Hex people that are liking and following TORUS. And I'm not going to be surprised if there's a market for them as well, which, I mean, the whole Pulse Chain community and Titan X community is really, two sides of the same coin for a large, on a large scale. Right. So, I'm hoping that this, for those people that maybe haven't been on board so far, will be able to bring those Hex users in. As again, there's an Easter egg that's over on Pulse Chain, but like Srey is saying, we haven't talked about the more complex side of things, like what happens
to the protocol over time with the shares and the fees and the difficulty measures. And I mean, you're already an hour and 24 minutes in, and that's a 30, 40-minute conversation in and of itself. And we haven't even talked about how Dragon X could be built or not on the protocol, which is a whole nother cool thing.
Awesome. Well, honestly, I mean, because I'm just learning about TORUS, right? On our stream the other day, I was learning about TORUS. So I think these bite-sized chunks of getting people to learn the basics of it, for me anyway. Like now I'm starting to grasp TORUS. So I think, the deeper stuff, it might be a good approach just to start feeding that in a little bit later once people start understanding, unless I'm just slow. But it's taken me a little while to start to understand it.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
It's the first time I've really had a proper look at it, so we'll definitely need a few passes. But it is relatively easy to understand. I'm assuming as well, similar to Titan X. I know a lot of people are sort of scratching their head, and then they just saw the protocol, they saw the UI, and they're like, get it. It's just totally easy to understand. So I'm pretty sure that'll be the same with TORUS, and I like the little Easter egg bridge, as I have a belief that a lot of hex and pulse chain maxis are fully in Titan X, but they just don't say it.
I'm pretty sure of that as well.
I think you've chosen the color palette very, very smart, as that might be the bridge to bring even more in, and vice versa. So that's pretty cool. Which brings me on to just a practical question. Where are you in the build and audits? Where are you? Can you give a signpost to a launch date, or is that all under wraps for the time being?
I can say Q1 2025, but as early as possible, with the caveat that I have zero intentions with rushing anything. And if it takes, even if, let's say I had a desire to launch in January, early January, and it needed an extra month to get things perfect, that's what it would take. The build process is, I believe, actually, we are starting to build literally this week. I just got a message from Eric, is his team that's going to be building TORUS. And I believe we're all hopping in and beginning the process, actually, I think in the next day or so, which is going to be awesome. And then audits are going to happen as soon as it's done. Testing is going to happen immediately as well once the code's all done. And it should be a very, very fun process, though. But yeah, the build process is about to commence. Everything's ready and set in stone, just waiting for the green light.
Very good. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Really good.
Yeah, and Eric has an all-star team. He really does. They don't mess around.
Oh yeah.
They accomplish a lot of work.
Oh, 100%. They're so good at what they do. And I was lucky enough to get the designer that also worked with Eric. If you've seen his new landing page, I've got him, and he's designed like you were saying, Irish, it's like the most easy thing ever to understand once you see the DApp, because it's literally two yellow buttons that say create or stake.
Yeah.
That's it. So all this stuff is decision-making stuff. Like, this is understanding how to play the game, but the game is click the damn button based on which number's bigger underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's just, setting what your strategy is going to be, and, how much you're going to put in long, how much you're going to sort of double and play on the it's just, I know you don't specifically want to call it a mining protocol, but, the heritage of that, they are fun to play, and they can be very rewarding when you go long and really believe in them,
Totally. And I'm totally cool if people are referring to it as mining too. It is creating because it is something different, but at the same time, creating was chosen because mining has certain implications on a societal level, when it comes to taxes or anything like that. And I'm hoping to possibly change that front a little bit by having different verbiage, which it is a different action altogether. So it is something different, which hopefully will help that on that front as well, which is why it was chosen.
Yeah, it's more accessible, and does what it says in the tin too, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, I really like that term, honestly, because when people hear mining, their first thought is Bitcoin mining. Like, that's the first thought of everybody that's that's not like so into crypto as we are. They hear mining and they're like, oh, Bitcoin mining. And there is a lot of different classifications and things like that. So I really like creating. Plus, it's just, I mean, it's the truth. And then it just sounds so much more wholesome. Like the user is creating their own supply,
Yeah.
you know?
100%. That's what I wanted to be able to do. And I wanted to use the most literal terminology ever. You create your own supply, then you earn from the TORUS pool, and then you also stake your tokens and earn. It's all just literal. You know, I didn't want to make it associated with anything else. So yeah, it will. I think TORUS will not be the last, is what I can say on that front.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I'm loving the concept. I like the idea. I'm excited to get more details on it, you know, and keep us posted on the build.
Yeah.
And I wanted to shout you out on those tweets you've been creating lately for the Titan X ecosystem. Man, those are some banger tweets. You're
Well,
doing
thank
some,
you.
dropping some serious knowledge. Those are high quality. I
Thank
really
you.
like those.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm stoked that they're getting bringing even some attention to the ecosystem, because they did really well, which was awesome. And I saw a lot of new people that I hadn't seen before interacting with that tweet. So that was really cool. So I appreciate it.
Anything else that you guys want to add, or do you guys want to wrap this up?
I'm all good my side. I mean, you know, the last thing I'd say is, if any of you want to join the Goat X Tribe Telegram group, it's t.me/the Goat X Tribe. If you've any feedback on what you've heard at the start of this, just DM me at Irish Crypto 4. I'm very active on X. Big up to you, Utah. Thanks for stepping in for the colourful Ali Kane. Mr. Kane, I hope you feel better. Food poisoning is never nice. So obviously you were missed tonight, but I think you've done a brilliant job, Utah. And Cryptographics, just an absolute pleasure to share the stage with you. Very positive what I'm hearing so far. I like these type of protocols. So yeah, keen to see how you progress, and maybe we can revisit this again when you get a bit closer to launch.
That would be awesome. And likewise, I mean, thank you, Utah, and thank you to Irish as well for sharing GoatX. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I love what you guys are building, and also looking forward to Stacks as well. When's Stacks coming out? Utah.
Yes. Before we draw up stumps, how you get on with that? The big launch date's coming, man. How you getting on?
Yeah. So the 22nd, so 5 days, 2 p.m. UTC. Everything's going along nice and smooth. You know, I really enjoyed building this project with Dude. And, you know, we use the same dev that he used for E280 because if it works, right? Like, and so if he already kind of knows, you know, well, this is E280 and this is similar to that, I like to use the same people, you know,
He is calm behind the scenes as he is on stream.
Oh yeah, he really is. He's so easy to work with, so simple to work with, and extremely intelligent. You know, I think a lot of people have underestimated Dude for a long time, but I think E280 really showed, you know, that he has some talent and he understands some tokenomics and he can build some very cool stuff. And I mean, that's what drew me in. I love E280, and it's just so simple, you know. And Stacks is the same way. For the user, it's super simple. You know, development, completely different story. There's a lot going on the back end. 13 contracts, you know, so it's a lot. But I think it's just really simple. You know, it's the mint the NFT, get staking rewards, liquid staking. You're not locked into anything yet. You get the rewards, you know. And I think, you know, I really think that it's going to be beneficial for the entire ecosystem. The fact that we're pushing all our reward payouts that come in Titan X through X28. And I think it's going to be beneficial for all the protocols also, because like I said, we are a benevolent whale in the way that we have designed it to where we scale that percentage back of how much we compound. So we just don't get, so we don't want stacks to get too big. We want it to be benevolent. We want it to be a player in all these protocols, but we don't want to take over anything, So, and I mean, this token's only mintable for 28 days, and then supply is capped, but that buy and burn from the staking rewards, that'll go on as long as these protocols exist. So I think it could have some serious buy pressure. It might take some time for it to start taking effect, but if you're early, it might be extremely beneficial. Not financial advice.
Yeah, those easy buttons are fantastic for the ecosystem, as I think Dude's been saying. I've been hearing that float around. I love that. That marketing is great. The Titanx easy button, the staking easy button, they're just fantastic.
Yeah, because we've grown so much. So, and if you're managing a portfolio for somebody else, if you got family members that you're managing portfolios for, you're not having to deal with all of this. And if you're just a staker, you're not having to deal with all these different stakes that you're trying to monitor. Just mint an NFT, mint a few, NFTs for the family members and put them in their portfolios. Life is easy.
Mm-hmm. So true. So true.
Best of luck, Utah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been good streaming with you guys.
Yeah,
it's crazy, Irish. It's like during the Blaze build, we were all, talking all day, every day. And now it's like everybody's just branched off building all their own stuff. And it's like, I never even get to, hang out with you guys anymore. Everybody's just doing their thing, and shout out to Allie Kane, hope you get well soon.
Yeah.
Everybody loves an Allie Kane stream. He just brings that awesome energy. He's always happy. I love watching Allie stream, man.
Yeah, likewise. But yeah, man, it's good to hang out with you again, Utah. And man, I don't doubt we'll be speaking a lot more when we get to that point in the bull. And all the builds are out, and we're sort of leading from the front. So yeah, work to do, marketing to do. We've got to lean into it, but I've really enjoyed this evening. So it's been great to share the stage with you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to speaking again, and looking forward to seeing Stacks go live, GoatX go live, and this ecosystem just doing its thing. It's going to be a lot of fun to be here together.
Agreed.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm going to wrap it up then if there's nothing else.
No, that's all good. Thanks again. Take care, Cryptographics. Cheers, Utah. Take care.
You too. See you guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
Take care.
Welcome to the Inferno Kingdom, a realm where relentless strength and blazing spirit define every moment. At the center of it all stands our mighty Inferno Bull, a towering, muscle-bound, cigar-smoking bull, emblematic of courage, endurance, and unstoppable drive. The Inferno token itself has seen 59% of its supply consumed by unyielding flames, forging a leaner, more dynamic environment for innovation to thrive. Within this kingdom, new creations arise: Phoenix, Flare, Stacks, and GoatX, each building upon the foundation that Inferno provides. In the past, ventures like Alien X, Flux, and Element 369 have helped stoke these fires, guiding us toward a future where resilience is second nature. Here, the blaze never fades, it only grows brighter. The Inferno Kingdom stands as a testament to boundless creativity, united effort, and the unwavering spirit that turns challenge into strength. Day after day, flame after flame,